What is it going to take for the Raiders to go into the belly of the beast that is Baltimore and pick up the victory? That plus more on Friday's edition of the Locked On Raiders podcast for September 13th, 2024.
You are Locked On Raiders, your daily Las Vegas Raiders podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And welcome in, Raider Nation, to another edition of the Locked On Raiders podcast. Thank you so much for making the show your first listen of the day. Make sure you subscribe or follow for free on YouTube or wherever you get your podcast to get the latest edition of the show as soon as it becomes available. And as always, if you're checking us out on YouTube, you know we appreciate that. The show continues to grow each and every day, and that's because of the support of you, Raider Nation, and because of the job that my man Ari does each and every day, making sure we're on YouTube, we're looking good, we're sounding good. We definitely appreciate him. So shout him out, check him out. He's on Twitter at Ari Produces. I'm on Twitter as well, at your boy Q254. And of course, we got the Locked On Raider podcast voicemail line at 707-654-4693. We will get back to your calls and texts as we close out the week really strong, head into the weekend, and hopefully head into a Raiders victory coming up on Sunday. So your calls and texts will come up in segment number 3. Segment number 2, speaking of that Raiders victory, how are they going to go about getting it? What do they have to do to pick up that victory on Sunday and improve their overall record to 1-1? We'll break that down. We'll talk about that. I got all aspects of the game. Offense, defense, special teams, coaching, all that's coming up in segment number 2. Here in segment number 1, just news and notes of the day, as I always do, and we'll jump right into it after I tell you about the title sponsor of the show, which is LinkedIn Jobs. They help you find the qualified candidate you want to talk to faster. All you got to do is post your job for free at linkedin.com/LockedOnNFL. Terms and conditions apply. So off top, want to go over the latest Raiders injury report, Raiders and Ravens injury report, as a matter of fact, for Thursday. Didn't get an opportunity to break it down on Wednesday. I did tweet it out at your boy Q254, as I do each and every day as soon as I receive it. But because we had the crossover edition on Thursday, didn't get to go over Wednesday's injury report, but do want to go over real quickly Wednesday and Thursday for the Raiders and the Ravens. So Brock Bowers, Divine Diablo, Tommy Eichenberg, Andre James, and Colton Miller, all full participants on Wednesday. Bowers is dealing with a foot, Diablo a shoulder, Eichenberg a knee, James an elbow, Colton Miller a knee. Miller and James were limited on Wednesday, but Bowers, Diablo, and Eichenberg were all full. On Thursday, all those guys were full. So every one of them, Bowers, Diablo, Eichenberg, James, and Miller. Jackson Powers Johnson, JPJ, dealing with the illness, limited on Wednesday, limited on Thursday. I would be shocked. We'll get another injury report today, and then we'll find out who's active and who's inactive on Sunday about 90 minutes before kickoff. I would really be shocked if Jackson Powers Johnson is out there. I don't know when he's going to make his Raider debut. I really don't. I'm actually starting to get a little frustrated with as long as it's taking. I get it. Health is the most important thing. We saw that obviously on Thursday Night Football when it comes to Tua Tagovailoa. We saw what happened with him when he went out with the concussion, and he's got a history of concussions. I don't know what's going to happen with him and his career moving forward, period. So health is the most important thing. JPJ has had a history of concussions. Now he's dealing with the illness, so it's good that he's not dealing with the concussion, but I just don't know when he's going to be out there and be available. And so, and will he be injury prone? Will he be one of those guys that is often on the injury report? Like, we just don't know, but I'd really be surprised to see him coming up on Sunday. But we will get another injury report later on this afternoon. And then, like I said, we'll find out who's inactive coming up on Sunday about 90 minutes before kickoff. Did not participate. D. Cam Richardson dealing with the hamstring Wednesday and Thursday. Did not participate. DNP as far as practice goes. Don't expect to see him active on Sunday. I'm sure he'll be inactive because I doubt he'll participate in practice today. Tyree Wilson dealing with the knee injury. Did not participate on Wednesday. Did not participate on Thursday. From all reports from guys that were in the Raiders locker room, his knee is pretty swole. So doubt that he's going to be active on Sunday either, and I really hate that for him. Again, this was a year where he was coming in fully healthy. He was supposed to be able to show why he was the number 7 overall pick, and he hasn't been able to do that. Not in training camp, not in preseason. He actually, on his first pass rush attempt on Sunday against the Chargers, looked pretty good and assisted Max Crosby in getting that sack, and unfortunately hurt his knee on that play. While everybody was celebrating, he wasn't. So that's just really unfortunate. I hope the best for Tyree. I never want any of these guys to fail or struggle to get, where they want to be. But Tyree is, he's on the struggle bus right now. So hopefully he gets healthy sooner rather than later and can return to the Raiders lineup. As far as the Baltimore Ravens, their injury report is a lot shorter than the Raiders is. What stood out to me was cornerback Nate Wiggins, the rookie, dealing with a neck injury. It wasn't listed on Wednesday, did not participate on Thursday. I did do a little bit of research. He's not a starter there in Baltimore, but a young man, a young, promising cornerback with dealing with the neck injury. That's never good. So he didn't participate. We'll see what happens with him later on today. Outside linebacker Kyle Van Noy dealing with the eye situation. Didn't participate on Wednesday or Thursday. Definitely don't expect to see him coming up on Sunday. And that's a weird situation that's going on right now. The NFLPA is looking into if he was treated properly, treated correctly in Week 1 against Kansas City when he went down with that eye orbital injury. And it's obviously not a good situation, but don't expect to see him at all. Also, Roquan Smith dealing with a shoulder injury, was limited on Wednesday, full participant on Thursday. He's going to be a go on Sunday. And then Adiza Isaac, the outside linebacker, hamstring injury, limited on Wednesday, limited on Thursday. We'll see what happens with him. But that is the latest and the greatest when it comes to the Raiders and Ravens injury report for Wednesday and Thursday. We'll get another one later on this afternoon. I did want you to hear from the Raiders offensive coordinator Luke Getsy, because I do think that this Raiders defense is going to have a lot to do with this game. But the offense has got to show up. This offense has got to play their part. They've got to be able to do some of the heavy lifting. And as I've been talking about all training camp, preseason, they've got to be able to complement the Raiders defense. The defense is going to be the strength of the team, but the offense has to show some signs of life. So here's just a couple sound bites from offensive coordinator Luke Getsy. Him and Patrick Graham, the defensive coordinator, met with the media on Wednesday, or on Thursday, I should say, at the Intermountain Health Performance Center. So here's Luke Getsy on the run game not being there on Sunday.
Yeah, we definitely feel like we left some stuff out there, right? We obviously got off to a tough start there, the first 2 runs, right, going 0-0 back-to-back, and that's, we got to get our guys in better positions, and then we got to execute better. So that's a team effort thing. But I think we're on the right track. I think what you saw as that game developed, as it went on, you started to feel it and started to feel like, okay, we're ready to roll. We get the holding penalty on the big explosive, and then the very next play we get another explosive, and then we get the fumble. So those kill your momentum that you got rolling there. So I felt like the run game started to pick up. I think we just we got off to a slow start. We can't do that.
So there's Luke Getsy talking about the run game not being there on Sunday. Obviously, it needs to be. So is the struggles running the ball? Is there one particular thing that they can focus in on and try to correct in advance of this upcoming Sunday against Baltimore? Here's Getsy on that.
No, I think it's always, it's never just one thing. It never is. And I think as you go into it, you go in your first game ever as a unit. I think there's always going to be some of those things where there's a little bit lack of execution. But in the end, we felt really good about where we were, where we're going to go. We felt like as the game went along, the guys kind of settled their feet in the ground, got that excitement of the first game kind of out of the way, and then I felt like the guys just got better and better as the game went along. Obviously, the biggest thing in that game, we can't turn the ball over the way that we did. I mean, we're not sitting here talking about any of this stuff if we don't turn that ball over, and that game's going to go in our way, and that's been our focus for this week.
So it's never one particular thing, and we know that this has to do with the offensive line. We know it has to do with the timing of the running backs. I mean, everything has to work, together, and if it works together, it could be a beautiful thing. If it doesn't work together, well, then it's not. And we saw what it looks like when it's not. And it's just very unfortunate. I think the running backs that the Raiders have are good. I think Zamir White could be good. Alexander Mattison obviously did a good job, as far as I'm concerned, did a good job coming in when Zamir White wasn't, hitting the hole when he was supposed to. And I know his first couple of runs, he basically was running into a stone wall, but just looked like he was a little bit hesitant. So I really could appreciate the job that Alexander Mattison. So the final soundbite that I want you to hear is from offensive coordinator Luke Getsy on Alexander Mattison, if he sees him maybe playing a bigger role than they expected on Sunday and moving forward to even this Sunday.
I guess the answer is no. As far as him having a bigger role than we anticipated, we feel really good about those guys, and they both, you can't play in this league with just one, and we feel really good about the group that we have. I think every week each guy kind of gives us a cool little matchup for who we're going against, and so I think there's going to be weeks that Alex gets a little bit more, and there's going to be weeks maybe he doesn't. But I thought he did a really good job. I mean, it was such a cool day for him, having a child and scoring a touchdown the same day. That's really cool. And then how he did it too was awesome. I think he's been great for us. His veteran leadership really stands out in that room for us. So he's done a nice job.
So we know that it's not going to be, just a one running back type situation. We know that. I do think that Zamir White was going to be the guy that was going to get a ton of the carries, and Madison was going to be a compliment to him. But regardless of what Luke Getsy says there, I do think you'll see more Alexander Madison, especially if he's the hot hand. I asked Antonio Pierce earlier in the week, is it going to be a hot hand type situation? Whoever's got that, they're going to ride with, and he said absolutely. Right, and that's what it's got to be, and that's with multiple positions. If Devontae's hot, keep feeding him. If Brock Bowers is hot, keep feeding him. If Jacoby Myers, keep feeding him. Whoever is helping them do what they need to do and achieve what they need to achieve offensively, they've got to keep on sticking with the hot hand. So I would expect to see a lot more Alexander Madison. I like what he was able to do. Didn't have a ton of touches on Sunday against the Chargers, but what he did, I thought he made the most of his opportunities. So that's what I got for you for segment number 1 of today's Locked On Raiders podcast. Coming up in segment number 2, keys to victory on Sunday. I do it on Fridays, always on a game week before the Sunday game. Of course, I'll do it on Monday if they play a Monday night football game, and I'll do it on Wednesday if they play a game on Thursday night. And, well, they got a Black Friday game this year, so I guess we'll do it on Thursday, right? So that's how we do. But I always want to get the keys to victory, what it's going to take. I know you heard the crossover edition, and you heard a little bit of it, but we'll expand it. We'll do that in segment number 2 of today's Locked On Raiders podcast. Before we get to that, though, I do want to tell you about a couple great sponsors here on the show, and one is the title sponsor of today's show, LinkedIn Jobs. When you're hiring for small business, you want to find quality professionals that are right for the role. That's why you have to check out LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs has the tools to help you find the right professionals for your team faster and for free. And LinkedIn isn't just a job board. LinkedIn helps you hire professionals you can't find anywhere else, even those who aren't actively searching for a new job but might be open to the perfect role. In a given month, over 70% of LinkedIn users don't visit other leading job sites. So if you're not looking on LinkedIn, guess what? You're looking in the wrong place. On LinkedIn, 86% of small businesses get a qualified candidate within 24 hours. Hire professionals like a professional on LinkedIn. LinkedIn knows that small businesses are wearing so many hats and might not have the time or resources to hire. LinkedIn is constantly finding ways to make that process easier. They even just launched a feature that helps you write job descriptions, making the process even easier and even quicker. Right now, post your job for free at linkedin.com/LockedOnNFL. That's linkedin.com/LockedOnNFL to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. I also want to tell you about FanDuel. And you've heard me talk about FanDuel quite a bit. It's America's #1 sportsbook. You know that. They have something a little bit different for you right now through September 22nd. All FanDuel customers can bet $5 and get a 3-week free trial of NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. Then, with the YouTube TV base plan, you'll be able to watch every regular season Sunday afternoon out-of-market game. All you need, a Google account and a current form of payment. Then you can cancel at any time. And if that's not enough, okay, well, be sure to check out FanDuel's Profit Boost in the app and use it for FanDuel's Double Your Winnings for all Sunday, September 15th pregame moneyline bets. Profit Boost will be live starting on September 12th, which was on Thursday. View your account page now to learn more about your boost. Visit FanDuel.com today. Make it happen. All right, Raider Nation, here we go. Segment number 2 of today's Locked On Raiders podcast. Want to jump into keys to victory for Sunday. What is it going to take in all phases of the game? Offense, defense, special teams, even coaching. What is it going to take to come up with the victory? So let's go ahead and start with the offense. The offense is the big elephant in the room. How do they get jump started? Right? They only scored 10 points against the Chargers. That's not going to cut it against anyone. That's not going to cut it against the Carolina Panthers, in my opinion, which comes up next week, the season home opener at Allegiant Stadium. So offensively, first of all, they need to continue to work on the run game, right? Madison and White. I've talked about it, so I'm blue in the face. And anyone who's watching on YouTube knows I'm not blue. But that's what it feels like, right? We've just hammered it at home. The running game has to be present. I called it last week a non-negotiable, right? It's something that has to be there. And the Raiders weren't able to get that run game going, right? And you saw what it was for the Chargers. The Chargers, they need to get the run game going as well. And what they did is they ran, and the defense was on the field so long, eventually they finally popped one. The Raiders have to find a way to eventually pop one. And hopefully it's early in the game where they can start showing some consistency, whether that's a healthy dose of Alexander Madison or Zamir White or a combination of the two, so be it. But they have to be able to get the run game going, which means that the offensive line is going to have to do their job. So I'm looking at Colton Miller. I'm looking at, Cody White here. I'm looking at Andre James. I'm looking at Dylan Parham, Thayer Munford. They have to work together as one cohesive unit. That's the only way that run game is going to succeed. And if that run game succeeds, that opens up everything else, including the opportunity to take a couple shots down the field, right? You have to be able to stretch the field a little bit. You can't allow the Ravens to all of a sudden say, hey, you know what? We're going to just crowd the box. We're going to dare them, and we're going to sit on short routes because they don't have the opportunity. They don't have the timing. They can't sit back there. Minshew can't stand back there and hold the ball for more than a couple seconds because they don't have the protection, right? You got to be able to utilize the play action pass. That's why it goes back to the run game. That's why it goes back to the offensive line. They have to have the opportunity to take a couple shots, if for no other reason, to keep the Ravens defense honest. And at times, if you're Minshew, and it's funny, I was talking about this on the radio, Unnecessary Roughness on Raider Nation Radio 920. Really, I've been talking about it throughout the course of the week. At some point, you just got to trust Davante Adams. And what do I mean by that? It's funny. Since he's been a member of the Raiders, it seems like no matter who the quarterback is, they've been kind of gun-shy to just trust him, just to go to him, just to say, you know what? I know he's technically covered, but he's Davante Adams. So sometimes I think Minshew's going to have to, and if it's not Minshew, O'Connell, just going to have to let it rip and take a shot. If you take a shot with Davante, if you take a shot deep down the field to Tucker, right, I can live with the results if you do that a couple times. I really can, because those are playmaking opportunities and playmakers. Davante is so good that even when he's covered, and you saw that on Sunday against the Chargers, there was a throw where he was pretty well covered, and he still made the play. He's just that good. He's so good at his craft, you just have to give him an opportunity. So every once in a while, you just got to, don't be afraid to just let it rip. Say, you know what, I'm throwing this ball to 17, and we're hoping for the best. Right? Now, I'm not saying close your eyes and throw it, but, you obviously have a plan of attack, but just know 17's going to get the ball. Now, I say that, another key to this game is taking care of the ball. Right? You can't have the fumbles like Zamir White had. You can't have, the fumbles like Gardner Minshew had, regardless of what the reason why he had that fumble. You can't do that. Right? And again, I can live with if you take a deep shot to Tucker and it maybe gets picked off, I can say, you know what? That was a glorified punt. Okay, fine. The defense still, they have a whole length of a field that they can work with. Or if you try to squeeze one into Davante because you just feel like he's going to have an opportunity to beat his guy and it gets picked, you know what? I could probably live with that too. But it's the throwing a screen pass at the line of scrimmage that gets tipped and intercepted. Like that you can't have. It's the smoke route that you're trying to run, and then you pull the ball back because your wide receiver is not looking, and then you fumble and set them up in good field position. That's the kind of take care of the ball. Zamir White, break off a really good run, and then fumble. Like that you can't have. You have to be able to have the ball security. When Zamir finally got going, he fumbles. So, and then, of course, the very next play, or the very first play, he gets it was a penalty, right? That's right. Michael Mayer held, and then the next play he fumbled. You can't do that. So offensively, you got to continue to work on the running game. That's critical. Take a couple shots down the field. Don't be afraid to trust Davante and take care of the ball. I think that goes kind of without saying. Defensively, against Lamar, you got to be disciplined with the pass rush. The edge rushers must keep contained. You must keep contained. There's an art to the way that they've got to rush Lamar. They cannot let him break contain. They cannot, just crash too far into the offensive line. If they crash in, he's going out. And when he goes out, he's going to keep on running and keep on running and keep on running. He just can't do that. You're right. You can't allow Lamar to crush you like that with some of those off-schedule plays that he makes. And there's going to be design plays where he's going to do the zone read, and he's going to fake it to Henry, and he's going to keep it. Okay, I feel pretty confident that the Raiders defense is going to do a good job against that. I really do. I trust Max Crosby, who's gotten so much better at stopping the run. I have, a lot of faith in Christian Wilkins to be able to stop the run. Charles Snowden, Janarius Robinson, obviously on the other end, that's going to be a little bit of a challenge for them. But I feel pretty good that the Raiders defense can rally and limit those plays. It's the off-schedule plays that Lamar makes that I'm concerned about. And I'm also concerned about Derrick Henry, King Henry. You can't let him get rolling. He only had 13 carries against the Chiefs. I expect to see a lot more of King Henry on Sunday. I know that John Harbaugh, their head coach, said he's not designed to carry the rock 30 times, which kind of means that he's probably going to carry it 25, right? I don't think that they want to see Lamar carry it 16 like he did. He led the team in rushing attempts when they played the Kansas City Chiefs on Thursday night. So I do expect to see Derrick Henry get a lot more of the workload. So, again, I feel like the Raiders defense is going to be able to slow down the run and stop the run. But we saw what happened last week when the Raiders offense couldn't complement them. All of a sudden the dam eventually broke. And then, J.K. Dobbins was able to get off. Well, don't think that the Ravens didn't notice that. So I don't doubt that we're going to see a heavy dose of the running game and continue to just pound away. And they hope that at some point they can break the Raiders and get off a really big run. And finally, for the defense, you got to create a turnover or two. Really, I'm going to call it right now. I'm going to say that the Raiders are going to come up with to create 2 turnovers. I think that they need to. Lamar has a tendency when he's running to hold the ball out from his body, and that's when a guy like Max Crosby with those long arms could maybe swing at it and get it. Sometimes Lamar has a tendency to put the ball in harm's way, a guy like Jack Jones or Nate Hobbs, right, or JB, Jacorian Bennett, Trayvon Merrick, Spillane, any of those guys can make a play on the ball. I think the Raiders are going to create 2 turnovers come Sunday. I think they need to create 2 turnovers on Sunday, give their offense a shorter field, or maybe even score. I got an idea. Go score for them. Right? So that's going to be one of those big keys, right? Cause a fumble, get a fumble recovery, strip sack, right? Come up with an interception or 2. Got to get back to getting some turnovers. They get some turnovers. Like they had 3 turnovers last week against the Chargers, and it wasn't even close, right? The Raiders have to get back to creating some turnovers, and it's something that you can't count on, but it's something that they need. Special teams got to be clean on field goal attempts, right? In week 1, the kicking game, field goal kickers were amazing. They had a great week. The only person who didn't have a great week was one of the best kickers in the league, in Daniel Carlson. And that, again, I've said it all week long, I feel like that was because of a bad snap. So the snaps got to be good, the holds got to be good, and the kicks got to be true. So the field goal attempts, it's got to be clean. You can't afford to leave points on the field. Tucker, McAllister, Turner, they got to be involved in the kick return game. You saw Tucker come up with a nice play when it was a punt and it was like a line drive, and he was able to put the Raiders in really good field position. Now, they didn't take good care of it. They didn't take advantage of it, but he was able to do that. I'd like to see those guys get involved. Kick return, punt return, whatever it is, Tucker, McAllister, Turner. I'd like to see those guys get involved in the return game as well, and then be consistent in kick coverage. There was one breakdown in kick coverage on Sunday against the Chargers where the Chargers got a nice return. If you're not going to be able to get down there and cover the kick, then let them start at the 30. I'd rather take the chance of them starting at the 30 than all of a sudden them getting to the 35 or the 40 or on your side of the field because you had busted coverage. That kick coverage has got to be there. Finally, I'm looking at the coaching staff. AP's got to trust his team. He's got to believe in his team, and even if he has some doubt and thinks that, you know what, I think that the defense, I'm not going to go for it on 4th and 1 because I think that the defense can stop when we get it back. At some point, you've got to show that part of the ball, that side of the ball, that you believe in them. So he's got to show that he has trust in all of the unit, all of the team, not just the defense, but the offense, special teams, everyone. He's got to do that. And Luke Getsy, we heard from him in segment number 1. He's got to dial up a really good game plan. And the players got to execute it. It's easy for us to point the finger and say, Getsy didn't call a good game. Getsy didn't do this, that, and the third. Well, maybe the execution wasn't there. Maybe the execution was what was poor. I think that the game plan, I think that the scheme, I think that can work, but you have to be able to execute it. These players got to execute it. So I just want to see Luke Getsy call a really clean game and put the Raiders in the best position and really put it on the players to go out there and make the plays. But that's it for me. That's it's a lot of stuff. It sounds like almost a perfect game, and I feel like they almost have to be. This is going to be a tough game, right? I wasn't even really confident on which way I'm leaning in this one. We did our pick'ems on Raider Nation Radio 920. I picked Baltimore in this one just because, right? It's in Baltimore. It's their season home opener. They're a really good team. The Raiders didn't show that they could score. My biggest concern with this team is the offense. Can this offense start to show some signs of life? That's my biggest concern. If they can do that, I would have no problem picking the Ravens to win this game. But, just nervous about it because I don't know what the offense is going to look like. I do feel like it's going to be a close game. I picked 20-17. That's what I called on the crossover edition. I'd love for it to be 2017 Raiders. It feels like it's going to be 20-17 Ravens, but there's a reason why they play the games, and I would have no problem being wrong. I'd love to come on this show on Monday and say, I'm absolutely wrong. Let's hand out some game balls. And hopefully that's exactly what happens. Coming up in segment number 3, your calls and text straight off that Locked On Raider podcast voicemail line, 707-654-4693. Before we get to that, though, I do want to tell you about another great sponsor here on the show, which is PrizePicks. What's PrizePicks, you ask? Well, it's America's #1 daily fantasy sports app with over 5 million active members. It's the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. And unlike other apps, PrizePicks is just you against the numbers. You pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections and watch the winnings roll in just like that. And I don't know, but if you know, it's still the month of September. In the month of September, one Caleb Williams passing yard will get you one win on PrizePicks every single week in September. That's right. Only 1 yard will get you an automatic win every football weekend in September. So that's 4 weeks of free W's. Don't miss the deal on PrizePicks because it's gone as soon as September gets wrapped up. PrizePicks is the only real money daily fantasy platform with an injury insurance policy so that your lineup stays in play even if one of your players gets injured. If your player leaves in the first half and doesn't return, it's okay. PrizePicks, your picks are still alive. PrizePicks puts their members first. All withdrawals are fast, safe, and secure. What do you need to do? Download the PrizePicks app today and use code LOCKEDONNFL. It's all one word. Get $50 instantly when you play $5. That's promo code LOCKEDONNFL on PrizePicks to get $50 instantly when you play $5. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. PrizePicks. Run your game. Here we go, Raider Nation. Segment number 3 of today's Locked On Raiders podcast. Your calls and texts straight off that Locked On Raider podcast voicemail line, 707-654-4693. Let's start off with a call from Eric in Oakland. I feel like I've been trying to get to this call for about 3 days, but here it is. Eric in Oakland calling to talk about the decision that AP made to punt with less than 8 minutes left to go on the Chargers' 43-yard line, and explains why that bothered him. Here he is, Eric in Oakland.
Yo, what up, Q? This is Eric from Oakland, California. I'm calling in regards to what everybody is doing as far as bashing AP on that call on the 43rd yard line of the Chargers when he decided to punt with about a little less than 8 minutes left in the fourth quarter. And if I'm not mistaken, I believe we were down by only 6 points or so. And I'm going to take the reversal on that one, man. I'm not a huge AP fan. I'm actually the one that was kind of bashing the hiring of AP while rest of Raider Nation was extremely enthusiastic about hiring AP. But I'm going to have to back him on this one, to be honest with you, man. The fact that he decided to punt the ball on the 43rd yard line with a little less than 8 minutes left on the clock and push them to within the 5-yard line. I mean, why is everybody bashing that decision, man, when, you know, our defense was holding up, our defense was kicking ass, our defense was playing really, really well throughout the whole game. So why not stop them? Get a 3-and-out, which the defense got the Chargers in 3-and-out many, many, many times throughout the game, right? You push them back, get a 3-and-out, get them to punt the ball, and, you know, we get the ball back in around the 50-yard line, and then now we got the final minutes of the game to score a touchdown and win the game 17-16. I don't know why everybody is bashing this guy, but if that was the case, everybody would be all on AP's, you know what, saying great job for punting the ball and getting the ball back and having the last possession of the game to win it. You know what I mean? So, being quite honest with you, I actually back AP on that call, which everyone else is opposing it and bashing him. To be quite honest with you, I think the Raiders should have gone for it when they were, I believe, in like around the 15th yard line. Instead of going for the field goal, maybe they should have gone and went 4th and 1 and win for it there with, I believe it was about 12 minutes in the fourth quarter and the momentum was going. The Raiders, I believe, drove about maybe 30, 40 yards down the field or maybe a little bit more than that. I think they should have kept the momentum going and win for it on that 4th and 1, not the other one. Well, that's my 2 cents in the queue, man. We got to just see how the Raiders do over the next couple of weeks and stop bashing this guy for one decision that he makes, man. So let's hold off on. Let's see how he does for the rest of the couple of weeks coming up. And good job, Q. Keep it rolling.
Thanks for the call. Appreciate you. And, you know, I can only speak for myself. And the reason I think it was the wrong decision only because I know it was late in the game. And the Raiders spent a lot of time on the field defensively. And, you know, you have to know at some point that the offense needs to do its part as well. So for me, I would have liked to see him go for it and show the confidence that they believed in his offense to get the job, similar to what I talked about in segment number 2. Got to show the confidence in the team. But you're right. If it works, they get the ball back. He's a hero, and everyone's praising him. But it didn't work, and that's, you know, what's going to happen. So I'm not trying to, move on from him at all. I think AP is the right guy for the job. I've said that many times. I believe he'll prove that sooner rather than later. He showed a lot last year as the interim head coach, and I think he's going to continue to do that. So thanks so much for the call. Actually thought that you were not liking the decision, but I understand your thought on that one. So thanks so much for the call. I do appreciate you. Up next, got a text from Raider Mech from the great PNW. That's Raider MEK from the great PNW. Says, Q, let's end the weekend on a positive note since the beginning, or let's end the week on a positive note since the beginning was a little rough. We have a great squad. Defense is amazing. They're playing great ball. A little bit of areas to clean up. For the most part, we have a top 5 defense. Offense is sold on paper. Just have to prevent turnovers. The offense is solid. That's what it says sold. The offense is solid on paper. Just have to prevent turnovers, a.k.a. self-inflicting wounds. Zamir doesn't miss his read on the 2nd and 1 during the first drive. That's 3 to 4 yards gain, and they have a chance to put up at least 3 and at most 7. Gardner doesn't put the ball on the ground. The offense could potentially march down the field and get at least 3 and at most 7. Zamir doesn't put the ball on the ground, at least 3 and at most 7. And guess what, Raider Nation? They keep the defense off of the field and help them stay fresh, meaning J.K. Dobbins doesn't look like prime AP for 4 plays. Baltimore has a stronger team than the Chargers do. I'd like for us to build some momentum before we play Carolina. I don't want the Panthers to look like they're playing against a JV high school team when they come out to Vegas. Thanks for everything, Q. I miss you shouting out the new booty listeners because my text you responded to about Hunter Renfrow back on February 21st, 2024 would have gotten me that. Take care, Raiders. That is from our guy, Raider Mech from the great PNW. So a lot of letters there, a lot there to go off of on that text. And basically it's the self-inflicted wounds. That's why on Monday's show was basically a self-inflicted loss to the Chargers, right? I mean, that's basically what it was. It was the Raiders beat the Raiders. I don't want to take anything from the Chargers because they won the game. They stuck with what they needed to stick with, and they got the W. But, man, the Raiders, they assisted them every single way that they could. So thanks so much for that text. I do appreciate you. Up next, got a call from J-Bone from the 910. He's calling to talk about what he believes will be the key to the Raiders' success on Sunday and also about the good luck charm for the team. Here he is, J-Bone from the 910.
Q, this is Raider J-Bone from the 9 Dime. Just thinking about this weekend with Baltimore, if we remember last time we laid an egg, a lot of comparisons to the Minnesota Vikings game last season. We came back and answered with a great stomping of the Chargers. So I'm hoping we have something similar. I think I trust Antonio Pierce. I think he's going to have the guys answering. And I think it's going to rely on getting that running game going. Because Gardner Minshew, I think, has the talent to get wins, and our defense is going to be able to scrape this one out. Obviously, we got a big task in front of us, but if this defense can beat Kansas City with a non-existent offense, then we should be able to beat Baltimore. It's going to take a complete game, but I think we can do it. And I just believe that Antonio Pierce is going to get the guys ready to go. We also have a secret weapon this week. My nephew's going to his first Raider game, so let's go. We get some new blood in there. Going to will us to victory. All right, Q. Take it easy. Bye.
J-Bone, thanks for the call, and I do believe the team will be ready to go, right? That's the one thing I feel very confident about. 17 games, this team is guaranteed. I feel like that they're going to be ready to play. I really do. I don't think that they're going to see a team that's out there on the field that looks unprepared. And we've seen that in prior years. I don't think that you'll see that. Now something goes awry and they all of a sudden it goes off the rails, maybe, but I just don't see it. I really doubt that. Now, that's awesome about your nephew being at the game. No pressure. Tell him to have fun at the game, but bring home the dub. So no pressure, nephew, but go get the dub. It's that simple. So J-Bone, thanks so much for the call. I do appreciate you. And let's close out with a text from Raider Jason from the 304. He said, "This is a mic drop moment. Good day, Q. It's been a little while, though. I thought I'd finally chime in. 1, pathetically inept loss against the Chargers. They let Mack and company wreck the game again. Big loss early. They're in the division and borderline playoff team like us. But the sky hasn't fallen yet, Raider Nation. Relax a bit. I'm angry, pissed off, frustrated too. Time to turn the page to week 2. Max and Christian have to shut it down this week. The Ravens have a young O-line. The D has to get pressure on Lamar or it's over. Gardner has to be better and protect the ball, period. Devontae and the run game have to get going and produce in the red zone. No more dumb mistakes and bad fourth down decisions. As always, love the show. Thanks for all the great coverage, especially during the dead time. I always love hearing from you and Big Link. Come on, Raider Nation. Let's go. Just win, baby, and go Raiders. That's Raider Jason from the 304. And really, all those points that you brought up is basically what I said in segment number 2, right? So we're on the same page. Keys to victory for the Raiders is just about what you said. You probably said it in a little bit less words, which is fantastic, right? But we all got to the same point. I'm right there with you. Really good stuff. And that was a pretty quick, short text. So we'll go ahead and get a couple more in. How about this call from Steven from Chicago? He's calling to talk about the call from Mariah in Sacramento, the negativity that she was hearing, and wanted to kind of clarify his feelings. Here he is, Steven from Chicago.
Hey, Q. This is Steven from Chicago, originally from Bakersfield, second-time caller. I'm responding to, I think her name was Maria, and she's like, what's up with the negativity? And I've been thinking about it. It's not negativity. We're just so tired. I'm exhausted. My earliest memories as a Raider fan was them leaving L.A., going back to Oakland. And then in Oakland, they were so inconsistent. And then they had the 3 years with Gruden. And then they got rid of Gruden. And then we had 15 years of just monotony until we got Mack and Carr. And then we had maybe the optimism for 2-3 years. And then it just went back to Gruden. And then we had the promise of Gruden. And then that failed. And then the promise of McDaniels. And then that failed. And it's just, now they're in Vegas. They left us for Vegas. And I love that they're in Vegas now too. So I'm not harsh on that. But it's just like, can we just have something that is good for a little bit? I look now and seats are too expensive to buy in Vegas. And then we're excited about AP. He's one of us. We can't wait. And I still am excited about AP. But then we go out like that. It's like, I just am so tired. And that's what, we're not negative. We're just waiting for something different. And that's all. And I think that's fair. Love your show. First listen every day. Has been since the tragic Khalil Mack trade. Imagine being here in Chicago as the only Raider fan people know, and everyone just throwing the Khalil Mack in our face. So I'm happy you're here, and happy I have everyone else here too. Raider Nation Chicago.
Thank you for the call, my man. Appreciate you. And yeah, man, you took me back with that Khalil Mack trade reference. Not one of the finer moments, right, for the history of this show. I mean, even though it was a really good show, but that Saturday, man, I still remember it like it was yesterday. But, I totally get the frustration, and I also understand where Mariah's coming from, because you know how it is, man, when you see, one game and it's a bad performance and taking the L, especially in the game where we all expected the Raiders to have a great opportunity to win. We're all going to question and be like, oh, man, what's going on, and get that frustration. So she's hearing the negativity. She's trying to bring that light of positivity to the party, and I'm good with it. So totally understand where both are coming from. Would love to hear some positivity and some excitement come Monday, and that'll come with the Raiders' victory. So, Steve, thanks so much for that call. I appreciate you. And we'll close out with a text from Eli with the NW. I'm assuming that's Northwest Raider Nation. He said, Q, listen to the crossover, and that dude says 30 points. I believe our D is better than KC, who only allowed 20. I didn't look at the time of possession there, but I think that may be the decider of this game. I'd like to see great play from the tight ends, solid running, and occasional shots down the field to edge out that prediction that you made on the fly. Just win, baby. That's from Eli up there from, I believe, Northwest Raider Nation. And, yeah, 30 points. When he said 30, I was like, whoa, that's a lot of points right there. That's a lot of perks, right? If we're playing dominoes, that's a lot of perks. I don't see it. I don't see it. I think the Raiders' defense is a lot better than that. And I think that when people look at the box score and not watch the game, the Chargers ran all over the Raiders. Nah, not really. Not in my opinion. But, again, it's just my opinion. I think the Raiders' defense is a lot better, and I'd be shocked to see the Raiders give up 30 points. Now, hopefully that's the case. Hopefully that's not the case, and hopefully the Raiders are able to, come up with a victory and shock the Ravens. And we're talking about, Victory Monday, and we're talking about handing out game balls to the ones that deserve it. But that's going to do it for today's show, Raider Nation. Enjoy the weekend. Enjoy the game. Early kickoff, 10 a.m. Pacific time. And again, hopefully we're talking about a victory come Monday. But either way, we will be back here on this show that we call the Locked On Raiders podcast. Until then, take care of yourself, take care of your family, love on your family. Most importantly, as always, just win, baby.